All right, so tonight we will be having, we're going to hear from Saul and Ezra Pett. Now, Saul and Ezra are sons of Warren and Donna Pett, who were, first of all, farmers from this local area, just over the hill pretty much, that side of North Prairie. And they were missionaries in the town of Yumbe in northern Uganda. And on March 18th in 2004, Warren and Donna were martyred. And tomorrow will be the 18-year anniversary of this tragic event. And during those 18 years, God has been working. He's been bringing life from what was dead. 2 seeds were planted in the earth, and now we are beginning to see the fruit of the sacrifice. So this evening, we're going to spend a few short minutes getting to know Warren and Donna's sons, Saul and Ezra, and we're going to find out why they went back and why it took so many years for that event to happen. And then we're going to invite you to come back on Sunday for you to hear, as Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story. How many remember? Do anyone know what I'm talking about? All right, I got a couple of you out there that do. The rest of the story. The story of what God has done in the hearts of these 2 men and the story of the fruit that's beginning to blossom in Uganda. But for tonight, we're going to hear about the trip that the 3 of us took back in January. But I'm going to show you a quick video that Elmbrook Church graciously put together for the Pett family. So we're going to show that now.
Warren and Donna Pett were farmers in McGuanago. By all accounts, they were ordinary people with an extraordinary faith. They had big hearts, and so people loved them and they loved them back. They were very involved in the church, in the choir, and in the youth ministry. And one year during the missions festival, they felt called by God to go to the mission field. And so in 1998, they sold their 100-year-old farm in McGuanago and moved to Africa. A few years later, they went to the country of Uganda to work with Here's Life, fulfilling a dream to teach agriculture out of their faith and commitment to Christ. But sadly, one day, they were martyred for their faith. And now, 18 years later, their sons, Saul and Ezra, reflect on the legacy of their parents.
If you'd have asked me in June of last year, so when are you gonna go to Africa, to Uganda, and visit where your parents were working? I'd have said never. Before you got out of your mouth, hey, you wanna go to Uganda, I'd have said no. I had a lot of anger towards God, a lot of anger towards the people in Uganda, a lot of anger towards the situation, even the people at Here's Life that they were working with, because they're the ones that brought them there. So for me, I had absolutely no desire to go there at all.
I think I started off the idea of going on this trip because I had a friend that I used to live with in Africa, in Tanzania. She was able to make some contact with Mom and Dad's the people that they worked with. In doing that, we found out some ideas of what the community needed, and one of the things was clean water. So that was my big intention on going to the trip, was seeing what we could do with water.
I got a call from him after he had talked to Heather a couple times, but he was just absolutely on fire with this idea that we were gonna go do wells in Uganda. I'm like, cool, when are we leaving? So the excitement in him sparked something in me to go with him and be part of the journey. So I'm gonna embarrass you. You ready? Yeah, he went to build wells. I went to build a relationship with my brother. I don't know how successful it was. He hates hugs still, which is weird, but we'll figure it out.
It was on the evening of March 18th, 2004, that religious extremists descended upon the village where Warren and Donna lived, set their home on fire, and gunned them down as they emerged. Also killed that evening, one of the students from the school, Isaac Girugo, who tried to intervene to save them.
On the way down there, it was just very peaceful. It was like a peaceful walk, because I didn't know what I was gonna get into, what emotions were gonna happen. It was peaceful, but I'm trying to picture in my head that night of them walking the same paths. And then when we got there and then we went through the whole story, it was definitely it's a story that we've been told before, but we've never been told firsthand. And that was, yeah.
Yeah. Or standing right there where it happened. As I started to meet the people from Here's Life and the people in Uganda and just being there, the anger just kind of melted. I guess I don't know another word for it. Before I went, I knew I didn't want to be angry anymore. But I didn't know what that was going to look like, and I didn't know how to even start that journey because I'd held on to it for so long. But then being there with them and seeing their spirits and their hearts and the emotion that they carried with them, you couldn't stay mad. You couldn't stay angry. There was just too much. There was too much love and joy there for it to go any other direction. It just started to slowly tear down a lot of the walls that I had built up. I want you to say what you said to Chris.
Oh, about the second trip?
No, sitting on the porch, talking to Chris.
I don't remember any of that.
Why did you go to Uganda?
To work on wells.
Why did you go to Uganda?
To work on wells.
No. What was the actual reason you went to Uganda?
To work on wells.
Why did God have you go to Uganda?
To get a relationship with God again.
I also think that he had us there, or me there, to help build my relationship with my brother. Because I think we're both going to need each other if we decide to keep moving forward in this. So, I ain't doing it without you, so.
Just as Warren and Donna Pett brought the living water of the gospel to Uganda, Saul and Ezra are continuing to honor their legacy by providing clean water for irrigation and fish ponds that will help feed the community and refugees living nearby.
I think an ongoing theme for the entire week we were there, and it was said, I don't even know how many times, John 12:24, where it says, unless a seed falls to the earth and dies, it remains a single seed. But if it dies, it germinates much fruit. And so we get to start to see what that might look like. And it's hard because that means that something had to die to get there. But now we get to see if there's more there. So we'll see what we can do to help water the seeds, I guess. Mm-hmm. So if that's what we're called to do.
Be farmers again.
Oh no. It's a horrible idea. Farmers again.
All right. While everyone's wiping their tears, why don't you two come on up? All right. We want to spend a few minutes getting to know these guys, hearing a little bit more of the story. You guys got them on there? Okay, you're good. Green. It's green. Okay. It's good to sit next to you guys again. That was, we had a long flight where we were really close, and then we sat in the airport for, felt like 3 days.
No,
so I really got to know you guys. Ezra, tell us a little bit about your family, and also what do you do for a living?
All right. So, I grew up. Is this thing on? Is it on? I don't know. Good? I think so. All right. I grew up right down the road. My family now lives in Eagle on a farm there, and with my wonderful wife and 2 kids, 2 boys, and that's a family.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a sales guy. I do everything from well water coming in to water filtration and septic systems. Before that, I was a service guy in the well industry for 20 years, so that's why the idea of water got me excited.
So water speaks to you. Very good. Why after so many years did you finally decide to go back to visit this place?
I guess the easiest reason is because I never had a good reason to go back there before. There's a lot of anger, and now I had a reason to go back, and something that fired me up with that.
That's awesome. I love the fact that God uses what we're passionate about to take us places that he's passionate about. And remind us what the reason was? Because we couldn't get it from the video.
To work on wells.
Yeah, okay, good. I wanted to make that clear. He went to work on wells.
Work on wells. Yep.
In case you didn't catch it. Saul, tell us a little bit about your family and what you do for a living.
All right. So I also live in McWanago. I live just on the other side and actually in Vernon with my beautiful wife. And we got 3 kids at home still. We had 5 total, so we hang out there. And then I am a project manager for a road construction company. So I build roads for a living. So that's what I do.
How were the roads in Africa compared to your roads?
They're awesome. They're scary, and no one should ever drive there. Including the people that live there. They should stop immediately.
All we heard the whole time was, you can't make a road like that. Don't they know this? We're like, yes, we know that, Saul. We know that. Yeah. 18 years, and we heard on the video why you didn't ever really want to go back to Uganda. So explain a little bit more of what changed your mind. I mean, we heard briefly, but...
Right. So he called me, and I said it on the video, but I don't have a better word for it, but he was absolutely on fire. And that's the only word I can come up with for it, with that idea of going to build wells in Uganda. We're going to go figure out how to do water over there. And just because of that, and I've told him this, because of the passion in his voice and the excitement that he had in that, I went, all right, well, I guess we're going to Uganda. I don't have a better explanation for it than that. He was my inspiration to go back, or to go there, 100%. I was in Uganda because my brother inspired me to go to Uganda.
That's pretty cool. I love that. So this is for both of you. Either one can answer, whichever one comes first. Ezra's very eloquent, and he's very quick-witted, so, just beware, Saul. He might jump in there first.
That's fine. I'll be patient.
Well, as the video mentioned, God used the reasons you went there to get you there, but he did a whole lot more. And we're going to go into what God did in their hearts on Sunday. So come back for that part on Sunday. But for tonight, was there anything that you learned about your parents or what they did there that you may not have known before you left?
I guess in more detail of what they were doing, like where everything was at, being able to see the classrooms or where they were doing devotions and where they were doing other things. A lot of the buildings are not there anymore that they were there before. But in talking to some of their students that they had, it gave us a really good idea of what they were doing and the passion they had for teaching them. And
yeah, the compound where their parents lived that night, most of it was burned. And so a lot of the buildings and things that were existing at that time were completely gone. A lot of the gardens and things that were there were completely overgrown with jungle. And a lot of the people that we met that had been through the classes and the things that your parents had done ended up going on to be business owners, Christian business owners in the community, church leaders, church planters, very influential people for the Lord, and it was really cool to see what they were up to. Saul?
Yeah, so for me, seeing the kind of love and the fact that the story, this is a long story, but I'm not going to tell it, but the fact that there was people that were still telling their story. So there's refugees in the area, and there's people that got there 12 years after it happened, and they heard the story, and they knew the story. They could tell us, you mean the story of the missionaries that were killed. So they knew the story well enough to be able to say that there were missionaries that were killed nearby. And the fact that 12 years later, 12 years after it happened, it was still so impactful to the people that were there that they were still telling that story. Was a pretty impactful part for me while we were there. And then
on top of that, the love and the hearts of the men that we got to meet when we were there was just absolutely outstanding. Ezra said it better than I can, but he said that they're warriors for God, the guys that are over there, and they fight a battle every single day for God, and it's just an outstanding thing to be with them and be around them and to hear their witness and to understand where our dad was and what his heart was in spreading the gospel, and then to see that heart in men that he worked with was just an unbelievable tribute and legacy to my parents.
Yeah, it was pretty fascinating. We walked up into this garden section, and across the river and up on the hill was this huge refugee camp, all from South Sudan, South Sudanese refugees coming there. So they have no reason to know this story. And this one guy walks up to us, and he's like, we started talking, and somehow in the course of the conversation, he said, yeah, we were there to visit. And he's like, oh, you mean the missionaries that were here 18 years ago that were martyred on this land? And these were South Sudanese refugees from hundreds of miles away, and yet they knew the story as if it had just happened yesterday. So very, very impactful on the whole area. But we would travel around. We looked at a few wells and things because that's why you went. What did we learn about the well and water situation that's there?
One of the wells is not sufficient enough for their needs, so we're looking at doing a whole new well system there. And that's for the fish farm. And wells over there are completely different than wells here. There's no pressure, everything's just big tanks, and hope that you get enough sun to be able to give you water. And it'll be fun to learn the differences. But we've been talking to a couple contractors over there to be able to so they would be doing the majority of the work. I would like to go back there to do some final button-ups of things, just as putting a memorial to mom and dad on it. And then there's another well that we're looking at is for the church community center. They have a well on it, but it just doesn't really. They have to hand pump it all, and it breaks, and so it's a temporary setup. So now we want to get them set up with a nice tank, being able to have good drinking water right on hand. So.
Yeah, so they walk for minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, half hour, just to get to a place where they can get water. Can you imagine walking? We have a hard time walking from here to the kitchen to get a glass of water, right? These folks walk a long way. And so if a well is not working, that means that they have to go even further to the next one down the road. And so one of the wells, you talked about that the church would service Here Is Life staff and all of the functions that go on there, plus this church and all of their staff, and then their school right next door. So it would service hundreds of people. And then the other...
It would also get back to the community, because the community still has to hand pump as well. So it would also, we would run a line for them as well, so that they would have access to that same pressurized water in a tap system closer to what they have now.
Yeah, so it would allow the church to reach out to the local community even better than they are. And then the other one was for this fish farm that is, you saw it being dug there, and this fish farm will be, they're going to start the school up again, and the students will be taught fish hatching and all of that in order to make a living, but also it'll be a form of discipleship and a way to reach out to and bless the community. So it's a really interesting project. So the well would service that fish pond. Obviously, with fish pond, you need a lot of water. So what are you most excited about as you look ahead to the next couple of months? What's thrilling you about this project?
Working on wells.
Okay. I could have guessed that.
He's very elegant.
He's eloquent.
He's an eloquent kind of guy.
Saul, what about you?
For me, I guess the thing that's exciting me is working with the men that are there. So they've really just inspired me in my faith and the way that I look at the world. And so I've started reaching out to them, just creating a relationship, getting to know them again, or getting to know them for the first time. And so for me, that's the exciting part, is getting to know those men and getting to work alongside them. I've said this before, but we're lucky enough, or we're blessed enough to get to walk alongside these men. Like, they've invited us to walk next to them. Like, hey, yeah, come on this journey with us. the journey's going to happen if we go over or not. They ain't going to stop just because we didn't help. They're going to keep going. They've been doing it for 18 years without us. They're not going to stop because we didn't come over. They're going to take that journey no matter whether we go or not. But we've been invited. We've been blessed with this invitation to come walk alongside these men through this. And for me, that's the part that's exciting for me, is walking alongside these men through that, with these men through that. And I get to hang out with him more, so that's cool too. I guess, kind of.
Kinda. Yeah. So you will go back.
Yeah, probably.
It's the plan.
All right. That's quite a change. From never wanting to go back
Never to go again.
To go again, probably more than once. And the men that we met, the men and women that we met, part of Here's Life and the work that they do really was inspiring. They live in a context where there's only 20% Christian, and the rest is militant. And so they are up against a life and death situation every day. They live in an area where they could be martyred at any time. And yet they stand for Christ. They witness, and you're seeing the church grow, and it is strong. And talking to these folks really did, it impacted me. It impacted Saul. I know it impacted Ezra. And just the depth of their faith and the way they articulated how they present the gospel in this context was quite moving. And so, so they, can you explain, we have informational flyers out on the table in the foyer, if you want to explain that a little bit.
So we have started fundraising for the projects that we're looking to do. So we're partnering with a group called the National Christian Foundation. They're going to take the money in for us. So there's flyers on the back that you can take. It goes over the basics of what we did, and then what we're looking to do, and then it gives all the information about how to donate if anybody's interested in that. So we're going to keep looking to go back and do it. The only thing that really limits when or how much we can do is what we can fundraise. So we're just looking for anybody that wants to partner with us in this journey. And then through NCF, we get an email that you donated, and then we'll add you to our list, and we'll send regular emails, updates, where we are on fundraising, how we're doing on getting there, and then once the projects get started, then we'll keep everybody updated on that as well.
All right, so you can, if you feel led and you want to give to that, all the information is on the flyer. If you are, you'd rather give through the church, all the funds that come to us, if it's designated for Uganda project, it'll go right into the same fund that they're going to be doing. So if you decide you want to give to the church, just make sure that it's designated for Uganda project, and it will go there. And I just want to thank you. I encourage you to come on Sunday, because you're going to hear even more of the story. And I think there's more that went on in their hearts that I think is really, really important for us to hear as a church and as a community. And so I'm excited to share that with you, but I don't want to have it repeated twice in a row. And I also want you to come on Sunday, because a lot of their family is going to be here. So we're excited for them to come and visit us then. So thank you guys for coming up. Did you have any questions that you had for them too? We have a couple of minutes that we could entertain some of those. Yes.
So your parents, did they grow up in this area?
Yes.
So
Eloquent.
We grew up right on Highway E, about a mile and a half that way. Pett Dairy Farm is where we grew up. They went to Mukwonago High School. They were high school sweethearts. Graduated, got married as soon as my mom graduated from high school, and were never separated from then on. So.
Do they still have brothers and sisters that live in the area?
My dad's sister is right there. It's Eileen Pett. Well, Altenberg. And then my mom had 5 brothers and sisters, and all the brothers are still fairly local. And then my one aunt lives in Oshkosh, and the other aunt lives in Ohio. Right, Ohio? Yeah. So, but yeah, they're still fairly local. She's got a question. Okay.
10 years, at least 10 years before Warren and Donna left to go to the mission field, Donna told me that of their intentions to go be missionaries. And it was something that was working
10 years. So we got 10 years. And then Saul might be over there.
No. Nope. Nope.
So one of the guys that we talked with over there, his name was Barnabas, or is Barnabas, I should say. And as we were working through some things, he turned to Saul and he said, Saul, you know, in the Bible there was a man named Saul. And then he saw the light, kind of like you saw the light, and he was renamed. And he was renamed Paul. And so he turned to him and he said, now you are now Paul, no longer Saul. So if you want to refer to him as Paul...
No.
You have our permission to do so.
No, you have his
You don't have
permission.
his permission,
You do not
but you have our permission to
not
do
have-
so. Right,
no,
Ezra?
No.
Yes.
No. Well,
Yes.
then you got to go by Barnabas, so.
Sure.
Paul and Barnabas. All right. Any other questions? Yeah. Ooh, how old are you?
42.
27. 45.
How old were your folks when they left?
42 and
43. 42 and 41.
41 and 42.
Yeah.
Okay, so about your age when they headed over, and they sold the whole farm and headed out. So right about their age. So God has still got a plan for you, and we're hoping for good things. All right, so we're looking for Sunny. Why don't you guys give them a hand, and thank you so much.
Are you kicking us off stage?
Thank you, guys. Like I said, they'll be back here on Sunday. Just a couple of things. So when we were traveling, there was a representative with Voice of the Martyrs that traveled with us, and really, really wonderful man. And so there's going to be a article coming out in the June edition of Voice of the Martyrs, and it's going to be all about their trip and the work that Warren and Donna did when they were in Africa. And so as a church, we have ordered some to be here, so they will be here in June, and you can be free to take those and be praying for that article as it goes out. The magazine is widely circulated, so just pray that God uses that to speak to the hearts of literally thousands of people, to encourage folks, to challenge folks, to get folks involved in mission, and to praying for those who are going through hard times. So pray that God uses that article. And so why don't we end this portion of our evening in a word of prayer. Father, I just thank you so much for these men. I thank you for their parents, and I thank you for the legacy that they left, these servants that went and served you and laid down their lives for the sake of Jesus and for the sake of those that they were ministering to. God, it's such a testimony to us. It's a challenge to us. I thank you for just working in the hearts of both Saul and Ezra and giving them that prompting to go, using the desire to just help with water, to get them there so that they could see what you had been doing and the work that you've been up to in the lives of the people there in Yumbe. And God, I pray for your blessing to be upon them. I pray for those warriors, God, that you would grant them strength and faith and peace and joy in the midst of the constant stress and the struggle that they're under, that they would live strong lives of faith, and God, that you would make everything that they put their hands to be successful, and that they'd see many, many folks come to faith because of their testimony and their work that they do in the community. And so we pray that the seeds that were planted with the lives of Warren and Donna, God, that it would bring forth much fruit. I pray for Saul and Ezra, God, that you will go before them, and as they seek to raise money, as they seek to help the community, the Christians, the believers, the Here Is Life staff with wells and with water, God, I pray that you would bring much fruit from that, and many folks would come to faith. And so thanks for this time we were able to spend to get to know them a little bit. We pray for Sunday as well, that it'll be a time of encouragement and challenge for us as a church. And I just pray that you'll continue to guide us in all of this as we go into the future. And so thank you, God. You're so good, and we love you. In Jesus' name, amen.